The silent cry commander Vera Chen stood on the observation deck of the TDS Relentless, watching the stars streak past as her patrol fleet moved through the Outer Rim territories. The Terran Deep Space Patrol had been established only 5 years ago, when humanity first joined the Galactic Coalition. Most alien species still viewed humans with suspicion, calling them Deathworlders because of Earth's harsh conditions and humanity's aggressive nature. The bridge communicator crackled to life, interrupting her thoughts. "Commander Chen to the bridge immediately," came the urgent voice of Lieutenant Marcus Webb, her communications officer. Vera moved quickly through the corridors of her flagship, her boots making solid thuds against the metal decking. The artificial gravity was set to Earth standard, which made most alien visitors uncomfortable, but kept her crew at peak performance. On the bridge, Lieutenant Webb looked up from his console with concern written across his face. "Commander, we're receiving a distress signal unlike anything I've ever seen. It's not audio or standard electromagnetic transmission." He paused, checking his readings again. "It's pure light patterns, but they're organized, structured, almost like a language." Vera studied the readings on the main screen. The signal originated from the Zephyrian system, a region known for its peaceful inhabitants. The Luminari were a species that few had ever encountered directly, living on crystalline moon cities and rarely venturing beyond their home system. They were known throughout the galaxy as healers, their light-based technology capable of curing diseases that plagued other species. "Can you decode it?" Vera asked, leaning over the console. Webb shook his head. "The computer is running translation protocols, but this is beyond our current capabilities. However, Commander, the intensity and repetition suggest extreme urgency. Something's wrong out there." Navigation Officer Sarah Kim looked up from her station. "Commander, the Zephyrian system is 14 hours away at maximum burn. If we respond, we'll be operating well outside our patrol zone." Vera considered the implications. The Terran Deep Space Patrol was still new, still trying to prove itself to the Galactic Coalition. Unauthorized operations could result in diplomatic incidents or worse. But the desperation in those light patterns was unmistakable, even without understanding their meaning. "Plot a course for Zephyrian," she ordered. "All ships prepare for emergency burn. We're going to help." The fleet of 12 Terran vessels turned toward the Zephyrian system, their fusion drives pushing them to maximum speed. The ships were small by galactic standards, but they were built tough. Earth's heavy gravity and harsh conditions had taught humanity to build everything to withstand extreme stress. Hours passed as they traveled through hyperspace. Webb worked tirelessly to decode the light patterns, finally achieving a breakthrough as they approached the system. "Commander, I've got a partial translation. The signal is repeating several key phrases. 'Help us,' 'Shadows consume light,' and 'Children of distant star, please answer.'" As they dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zephyrian system, the crew of the Relentless gasped at what they saw. The system's twin stars still burned bright, but around them, space itself seemed darker. Massive black shapes moved between the planets, absorbing light wherever they passed. "My God," whispered Tactical Officer James Rivera. "What are those things?" Before anyone could answer, sensors began screaming warnings. 500 contacts and climbing, Rivera reported, his voice tight with stress. "Unknown vessel configuration, but they're massive. Each one is easily 3 times the size of our largest ship." On the main screen, the enemy vessels became visible. They looked like living shadows, their surfaces seeming to absorb all light that touched them. They moved with organic fluidity, completely unlike any ship design in the Galactic database. "Commander," Webb called out, "we're receiving another light transmission. It's coming from the third moon of Zephyrian Prime." The main screen shifted to show a crystalline city built into the surface of a small moon. Even from this distance, they could see that parts of the city were going dark, the crystal structures losing their natural luminescence. The transmission translated into words that appeared on their screens. "Children of the heavy world. We are the Luminari. The Void Hunters have come to our system. They feed on light and life itself. Our cities fall one by one. We have healed many of your kind in the great medical stations. If you remember kindness, please help us." We cannot fight. These creatures of shadow. Vera felt her heart racing. 500 enemy ships against her 12 vessels. The math was impossible, but she had never walked away from someone who needed help. That wasn't the human way. All ships, this is Commander Chen, she broadcast to her fleet. I won't lie to you. We're outnumbered more than 40-1. These void hunters are unlike anything we've ever faced. But the Luminary are peaceful healers who have helped thousands of our people. They're calling for help. And by God, we're going to answer that call. The responses came back immediately from her ship captains. Captain Torres of the Defiant. Ready to engage, Commander. Captain Jackson of the Vanguard. My crew stands ready. One by one, all 12 ships confirmed their readiness to fight. Vera turned to her tactical officer. Rivera, what can you tell me about these Void Hunter ships? Rivera studied his sensors carefully. They appear to be organic in nature, possibly living ships. They're absorbing energy weapons fire from the Luminary defense platforms like it's nothing. But Commander, there's something interesting. They seem to avoid the areas with the highest light concentration. They feed on light, Vera murmured, remembering the translation. But they don't like too much of it at once. She turned to her crew. Plot an intercept course, take us directly toward the largest concentration of enemy ships. Commander, Navigation Officer Kim said carefully, that will put us in the middle of their entire fleet. Vera smiled grimly. Exactly. If they're used to feeding on gentle species who can't fight back, let's show them what a species from a death world can do. All ships, battle formation, prepare for engagement. The 12 human vessels moved into the system like arrows shot from a bow. They were small and fast compared to the massive Void Hunter ships, but they had advantages their enemies didn't understand. Every human aboard had grown up in Earth's heavy gravity, making them stronger and more resilient than most Galactic's species. Their ships were built to withstand forces that would tear apart vessels designed for gentler worlds. As they approached the enemy fleet, the Void Hunters seemed to notice them for the first time. The shadow ships began turning toward the humans, their organic forms rippling as they moved. They're scanning us, Rivera reported. I'm reading some kind of energy probe. On the bridge of the lead Void Hunter vessel, the creature that served, as its consciousness recoiled in surprise. These new arrivals were different. Where most species radiated the soft light of peaceful civilizations, these beings burned with an intense inner fire. Their ships were small, but incredibly dense, built with a strength that spoke of a harsh world and harder lives. What are these creatures? The Void Hunter asked its subordinates. They come from the third world of a yellow star, came the response. A heavy gravity planet with violent weather and dangerous predators. The galactic databases call them humans and classify their world as a death world. The Void Hunter leader felt something it had not experienced in centuries of conquest. Uncertainty. Species from death worlds were rare, and they were always dangerous. Back on the Relentless, Vera watched as the enemy fleet began to move toward them. All ships, remember your training. We've practiced boarding actions, close quarters combat, and ship-to-ship engagement in conditions that would kill most species. These Void Hunters may be bigger, but they're not tougher. The first exchange of fire lit up space like a new star being born. The Void Hunters launched energy weapons that should have vaporized the human ships, but the Terran vessels' shields held. Built to protect against solar radiation on high-gravity worlds, they were far stronger than the aliens expected. Return. Fire, Vera ordered. Target their propulsion systems. The human weapons were different from what the Void Hunters had faced before. Instead of energy beams, they used kinetic projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds. The rounds, designed to work in Earth's heavy gravity, hit the organic ships with devastating force. 3 Void Hunter vessels reeled from the impact, their organic hulls cracking and bleeding strange fluids into space. The alien fleet's formation wavered as they tried to understand how such small ships could hit so hard. They're regrouping, Rivera reported. Looks like they're trying to surround us. Vera nodded. Perfect. That brings them closer together. All ships, prepare for close engagement. Show them why humans are called Deathworlders. As the human fleet dove into the heart of the enemy formation, space around the Zephyrian system became a battlefield unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. The Luminari watched from their crystal cities as the small human fleet engaged impossible odds, and for the first time since the Void Hunters arrived, they felt something they had almost lost. Hope. The Deathworlders had come, and they had come to fight. Deathworld unleashed. The space around Zephyrian Prime erupted into chaos as the human fleet carved through the Void Hunter formation. Commander Vera Chen gripped her command chair as the Relentless shook under enemy fire, but the ship's reinforced hull held firm. Around her, the bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, their movements sure despite the violent maneuvers their ship was performing. Direct hit on enemy vessel designated Alpha 7, reported Tactical Officer Rivera, his voice steady, despite the battle raging around them. Their hull is breaching. Whatever these things are made of, our kinetic rounds are tearing right through them. Vera watched the tactical display as her fleet of 12 ships danced between hundreds of enemy vessels. The Void Hunters were larger and more numerous, but they moved like creatures accustomed to easy prey. Their organic ships undulated through space with fluid grace, but they couldn't match the sharp, aggressive maneuvers of the human vessels. "Commander," called Communications Officer Webb, "I'm receiving a transmission from the Luminari. They're asking how we can move our ships like that without our crews being crushed by the forces involved." Vera almost smiled despite the desperate situation. "Tell them we're from a heavy world. What crushes other species just makes us stronger." The truth was more complex than that simple answer. Every human in the fleet had grown up under Earth's crushing gravity, in an environment where hurricanes, earthquakes, and predators had shaped their evolution. Their bones were denser, their muscles stronger, their reflexes faster. What seemed impossible to other species was simply Tuesday for a human crew. Captain Elena Torres of the TDS Defiant demonstrated this as her ship pulled a maneuver that should have been suicidal. Diving directly toward a cluster of 5 Void Hunter vessels, she waited until the last possible second before reversing thrust and spinning her ship in a tight spiral. The enemy vessels, expecting her to pull away, collided with each other as they tried to track her movement. "Beautiful work, Torres," Vera broadcast to her fellow captain. "That's 3 more down." But even as the humans scored victories, the sheer numbers were beginning to tell. Warning lights flashed across the bridge of the Relentless as enemy fire found its mark. "Shield generators at 60%, Rivera reported. "Hull breaches on decks 5 and 7. Damage control teams are responding." Vera made a decision that would have seemed insane to any other species in the galaxy. "All ships, prepare for boarding actions. We're going to take this fight to them directly." The response from her captains was immediate and enthusiastic. This was what humans did best: close quarters combat in conditions that would terrify other species. While most galactic militaries relied on long-range energy weapons, humans had learned to fight up close and personal. Marine Sergeant Mike Rodriguez felt his heart racing with anticipation as he suited up in the armory of the Relentless. Around him, 40 other Marines were preparing for what would either be the most glorious or most futile battle of their lives. Their powered armor was built to function in Earth's gravity and beyond, making them walking tanks in the lower gravity environments most species preferred. "Listen up, Marines," Rodriguez called out as they prepared to board the assault shuttles. "These Void Hunters think they're hot stuff because they can beat up on peaceful species. Time to show them what happens when they mess with something that fights back." The assault shuttles launched from the human ships like bullets, their pilots performing evasive maneuvers that would have killed crews from gentler worlds. The shuttles were built like everything else humans made: tough, reliable, and designed to work in impossible conditions. Inside the lead Void Hunter vessel, the organic consciousness that controlled the ship felt something it had never experienced: fear. The small craft approaching its hull moved with a precision and aggression that spoke of predators, not prey. As the human boarding pods attached themselves to the ship's surface and began cutting through the hull, alarms that had never sounded before began wailing throughout the vessel. Sergeant Rodriguez was the first through the breach, his powered armor allowing him to tear through the organic barrier like it was paper. The interior of the Void Hunter ship was dark and humid, with walls that pulsed like living tissue. The gravity was perhaps a third of Earth normal, making Rodriguez feel like he could leap buildings. "This is too easy," he muttered as he advanced through the corridors, his armor's sensors painting targets in his helmet display. The Void Hunter crew they encountered were large, shadowy beings that seemed to be made of living darkness, but they moved sluggishly in their own ship's environment. The first alien Rodriguez encountered towered over him, easily 9 feet tall with appendages that writhed like tentacles. It reached for him with movements that would have been blindingly fast on its own world, but seemed slow and clumsy to the human marine. Rodriguez's armored fist connected with the creature's center mass, and the impact sent the alien flying. Across the corridor. "Contact made," he reported over the comm. "These things hit like wet tissue paper. Whatever world they evolved on, it wasn't anything like Earth." The battle inside the Void Hunter ships became a rout. The alien crew had evolved in low-gravity, low-stress environments where physical conflict was rare. They were used to overwhelming opponents with numbers and technology, not engaging in hand-to-hand combat with armored warriors from a death world. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Relentless, Vera watched as her tactical display showed the tide of battle turning. The Void Hunter fleet was pulling back, their formation dissolving as ship after ship went dark or began drifting helplessly. "Commander," Webb called out excitedly, "I'm receiving multiple transmissions from the luminary cities. They're saying the darkness is retreating, that their lights are coming back online. On the crystalline cities of Zephyrion's moons, the Luminari watched in amazement as the human fleet continued its impossible battle. The beings of light had never seen such determined aggression, such willingness to fight against overwhelming odds. Their own peaceful nature had made them easy prey for the Void Hunters, but these humans seemed to thrive on conflict." First Speaker Luxaria, the eldest of the Luminari, sent a direct light transmission to the human flagship. The message, when translated, filled Vera's screen. "Children of the heavy world, we do not understand your ways, but we honor your courage. You fight for strangers without thought of reward. This is a concept we must learn." The Void Hunter fleet was in full retreat now, their organic ships limping away from the system as fast as their damaged propulsion could carry them. The entity that commanded the lead vessel sent one final transmission toward the human fleet, not in words but in pure emotion. Fear, respect, and a warning that this species from the Death World would be remembered. As the last of the enemy ships disappeared into hyperspace, Vera allowed herself to relax for the first time in hours. Her small fleet had taken damage, but all 12 ships were still functional. More importantly, they had saved an entire civilization from extinction. "Damage report," she called out. Rivera consulted his displays. "Minor hull breaches on 7. Ship's shield generators need repair on 5. 3 injuries among the Marine boarding parties, all minor. Commander, we just fought a fleet 50 times our size and won." The communications board lit up with incoming messages from across the galaxy. Word of the battle was already spreading through the galactic networks. A dozen human ships had defeated 500 Void Hunter vessels, something that had never been done before, but the most important message came from the Luminari themselves. First Speaker Luxaria's transmission was longer this time, and when Webb finished translating it, his voice was filled with wonder. "To the warriors of Earth, we offer more than gratitude. We offer alliance. Our light-based healing technology, combined with your strength and courage, could protect many worlds from the darkness that threatens the galaxy. We have learned today that sometimes peace must be defended by those willing to fight for it." Vera stood and walked to the main view screen, looking out at the crystal cities of the Zephyrian moons. Their lights were burning bright again, and she could see small luminary vessels emerging from their hiding places. The sight filled her with a pride she had never felt before. "Webb, send a response to First Speaker Luxaria. Tell her that Earth accepts their offer of alliance. Tell her that humans have a saying. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. We didn't do nothing, and we never will." As the human fleet began rescue and repair operations, news of the battle spread throughout the galaxy. The species that had dismissed humans as primitive Deathworlders were forced to reconsider. These newcomers from the heavy world had proven that sometimes the galaxy needed warriors, not just diplomats. In the months that followed, The Human Luminary Alliance would become a beacon of hope for peaceful species across the galaxy. The Luminary provided advanced medical technology and energy weapons, while the humans provided protection and military expertise. Together, they began patrolling the Outer Rim, protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Commander Vera Chen would go on to become Admiral Chen, leader of the Alliance fleet. But she would always remember this day. The day humanity proved that being called a Deathworlder wasn't an insult. It was a badge of honor. When the Void called for help, the Deathworlders had answered, and the galaxy was never the same. The Terran Deep Space Patrol had started as humanity's attempt to prove they belonged in the galactic community. Instead, they had proven that sometimes the galaxy needed them more than they needed it. The Deathworld had unleashed its children among the stars, and they had brought not conquest, but protection for those who needed it most.